Well, Betty, here we are in the town square, or the Marienplatz in Munich.
Would you say that again? The Marian what?
Marienplatz.
And Platz means?
I guess it means square, because that's where we are.
That's what it must mean.
Yeah.
Okay,
St. Mary's Square.
I depend on you for things like that, you see.
And as you can see, and everyone else too, it's a little much of a rainy day this day, but beautiful. A good day for taking some photographs. As we look at the Glockenspiel, which is located right on the town hall. And did you realize that the foundation stone to this great big beautiful building was laid by King Ludwig II on the 25th of August in 1867.
But of course I knew that. Well, what a silly question to ask me.
Okay, I'm just checking your history.
All right.
And here is St. Peter's Church, which is located just off the square. You know, the town hall, I really thought when we took a look at it, I thought this was a church.
It looks just like a church, doesn't it?
Really does, yeah.
With all the little spires and things on it.
And down inside, underneath, is the largest restaurant that I've ever seen in my life, where we had lunch, and we'll go there in just a few moments. But you can see the Glockenspiel here, and at 11 o'clock in the morning, the Glockenspiel, even though it's raining, does its thing. We were waiting for right there. Yeah. Oh, speaking about eating, what do you say, let's go down. Again, this was one of the biggest restaurants. I think it was also a bomb shelter during the war.
And we talked about that the last time, with it went
right.
on and on and on.
Well, Betty, how about interviewing some of our travelers this morning?
I have with me Stan Conover, who's one of our guests on this trip, and he's just been such a barrel of fun. What do you think of the trip, Stan?
It's great, and I'm drinking to 1990.
Well, let's have a drink to Channel 49. How about
and to Channel 49.
Thank you very much. It's been a fun trip so far. Are you having a good time?
Best time I've had all year.
All year. And where you're from? Where are you from?
Lucasville, Ohio.
Oh, ho-ho.
Oh, ho-ho, yeah. Round on the ends and high in the middle, right.
What did Mitch have to eat?
I had the potato pancakes with applesauce. Kind of a German delicacy. It was very, very good.
Ken Bowser, what a wonderful name, isn't it? And Ken, where are you from?
I'm from Ohio, northeastern Ohio, Akron.
Oh, ho, ho. And what did you eat today?
I had some Hungarian goulash, München style.
Oh, my goodness. Was it just like you thought it would be?
It was better.
Oh, my goodness. You couldn't ask for anything better than that then, can you? Okay, we're going to go across over here and get somebody else. And here we have Lester, and Lester has really enjoyed his food, as you can see from his plate. And from Lester, he has a good time wherever he goes. Lester, where are you from?
I'm from Gustavus, Ohio.
Oh,
and I'm eating Wiener Schnitzel, and it's cooked very well. The beer is very good. The company is very good. And the bill is seemingly reasonable.
I thought the food was good, didn't you, Betty?
Yes, it was. I enjoyed it.
It was interesting seeing these fellows over here, because they just sit there and party all day long.
And the beer kept flowing. They kept filling it up and filling it up. And look at the age group. They're old and young.
Uh-huh. Look at this great big beautiful heater indoors. Isn't that beautiful?
It is.
Betty, I was reading that part of this place was damaged during World War II, so part of it, I guess, was rebuilt. But let's join Inga right now as we get back on the bus and see some more of Munich.
Oh.
Important structure on my right-hand side, it's the Bavarian State Library. Contains 5 million volumes of books which go back to the 9th and 10th century, and you know, that was done in most cases by the monks, beautiful letters written on parchment paper, but not only old books, also 2,000 love letters, which Ludwig had exchanged with his various girlfriends, are kept in there. He was quite a guy, I assure you. Ludwig's church here on my right-hand side, another superlative. It has the largest altar fresco in the world by Cornelius.
I think Inga was such a wonderful guide. She is so knowledgeable on Munich. And this is the Victory Arch, which commemorated the defeat of Napoleon I. And Betty, this was, what sort of design is this?
I think it's Roman.
Yeah, Italian, I think.
Italian,
I think that was what it was modeled after. This is a little bit of picture of it that we put in because it was raining on the day that we were there. But this particular area around here, there are a lot of museums. There's also a university and several very important buildings. And
excellent location there is
yes.
for us, where we were, all the things that we got to see.
Very much so. Again, I like looking out of a bus window, especially when it's nice and warm in the bus and on a rainy day. But to take a look at some of the residences that you know, you can look at all the historical buildings that you want to, but you want to kind of see how the people live, and we get more into that as we get closer to a palace where we're going to visit in just a little bit. And
well, there's lots of people there. There's no question about that. Did you see all the cars?
That's for sure. Yeah. Now, on our trip next May, we will be going into this part of Bavaria. We will be going into Munich, and so we will spend a little time here so that you will actually have a chance to see this for yourself. And hopefully it won't be a rainy day.
Oh, it won't rain. I predicted that's way back, and in fact, that'll be in June.
There's McDonald's over there. I wanted to get a shot of that. And see, on the streetcar it says Western Store. And look over here. Here's a pizzeria over on the other side. So no matter what your tastes are in food, you don't have to eat Wiener Schnitzel, I guess, while you're in Germany. But we also had the chance to go here by the Olympic grounds.
Yes, that was really outstanding, wasn't it?
What year
Marv?
was that held in?
1972, long time ago.
Yeah, the architecture seems to be very, very unusual and interesting here.
Marv, look at the tower there. Do you realize that that's 950 feet tall?
That does go up there, doesn't it?
Oh, my.
Let's listen to Inga right now.
A man-made canal. It's made by one of our royalties, Max Emanuel, in the beginning of the 17th century. And this canal, in the autumn, they all empty it out, clean it, put the water back and the fish back into it, the small ones, to let them go for another year. And the fish in this canal is a big specialty in our country. I wonder whether you guess what sort of fish that is. The other day somebody said it's goldfish. Well, you're not far away with this idea. It's in the family of the goldfish. Carp, right? It might sound horrible to you, but I was told that our carp is different from yours. That was bred specially over a period of 300 years. And you know why? That has a religious reason. Bavaria was, as we said, a completely Catholic country. Being so far away from the sea to get fish, they had to find an alternative for those meatless days. And they started to breed fish, and in particular carp. And it's enormously popular. The Austrians also eat carp, the Polish people eat carp, and we Bavarians eat carp. And for instance, we eat it, a lot of families, like my family, we eat it on Christmas Eve and also on New Year's Eve. And I talked about it the other day, and one lady said to me, Inga, do you know how we prepare carp in the United States? I wonder whether you know this recipe too. She said, we take the carp, put it on a wooden board, clean it, spice it properly, and then we put it in the oven 20 minutes, and then out of the oven back onto the wooden board, throw the carp away and eat the board. Imagine what a Christmas meal it would be for us, huh? So we're coming close to Nymphenburg. The row of trees is also a very typical tree for Germany, the linden tree. Many songs, many poems go about the linden tree, and right here we see they have specially switched on the fountain for you, huh? Isn't that nice? See what they have done now. I was just telling our driver that Munich is an anti-tourist city. They are trying to ban out the buses from the downtown area, and this is the latest thing, that they would not let us drive toward the palace anymore. We have to park somewhere around here, but you get an idea about it. I think we usually stop here for the pictures, because I think from that certain distance it's... So the summer palace of our royalties is good 300 years old, and was built in the middle of the 17th century.
Well, it did take over 50 years to build, evidently. It is an architectural gem. You were looking at storybook castles and palaces. Do you think this would fit your bill, Betty?
That might be all right with me. I think it's a little big, though, Marv. I think I prefer up high rather than spread out. Yeah,
you could always, I guess, get from one end of the palace to the other on your roller skates.
I was just going to say, you'd sure have to bring your roller skates with you. Why do you suppose they have so many rooms?
I don't know. You know, I imagine back in those days, though, you probably had to have a lot of servants, because remember, when this was built, this was way out in the country and out in the forest area. So you probably had your palace hunters, those that went out and got the deer and the rabbits and whatever, and the people that cooked, and the grounds people, and
Of course, the guy could have just had a yen for building too, huh?
that could be, yeah, that could be. I'm not sure if this was built by Ludwig the First. Now, there were two Ludwigs, Ludwig the First and Ludwig the Second. Ludwig the Second seems to be the one that everybody talks about and seems to be in love with. Here's a picture on a nice sunny day without the rain of the palace.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And in the wintertime, now, how about that? Skating out in the pond.
You really utilized the grounds. They hunted in the spring, and then they skated in the winter.
Yeah, and this is King Ludwig the First, Gallery of Beauties. We're going to hear a little bit now about King Ludwig the Second, as Elsa explains to us.
In the age of 18, very tall, curly hair, big blue eyes, and he was so handsome that a lot of royalties in Europe tried to marry their daughters to Ludwig. But, for instance, there came a delegation from Poland with two princesses who were in the age of getting married. They presented Ludwig a beautiful table with inlay work. The table is still kept in our museum here, but the girls were sent back. He didn't like them. Finally, he found a girl, a Bavarian princess. Her name was Sophie, and she was very much in love with him, 17-year-old Sophie. And one day, he invited his fiancée to go with him to the opera, and Sophie could hardly wait for the day. She said, "Mom, imagine how the people will admire me sitting next to my handsome prince." But when the time came and she was picked up from her palace at Starnberg Lake, you might have seen the sign when you came in from Oberammergau or when you drive out again, and led to the opera, what do you think the girl saw? There wasn't a single person present. The whole audience hall was in darkness. Not a soul was there. Only the loge for her and the king was lit. Ludwig had ordered a private performance in the middle of the night. Well, she was so disappointed. What did she wear this beautiful gown for if nobody saw her? She said, "Ludwig, where are the people?" And he replied, "How could I concentrate on my beloved music if I felt that all these eyes are staring at me?" Well, I'm sure there must have been a split of a second where Sophie had some doubts about his mental status. But they went ahead with the wedding preparation. The wedding date was set, all the people were invited. And even the coins were ready to be published, coins on occasion of a wedding of a king that was customary, with the portrait of the bride and the groom on. Everything was ready. When the day came closer, Ludwig decided to postpone the wedding date. Another one was set. And he did it like this 3 times. Until the family of the girl got very upset, wrote him a letter and said, "Majesty, please make up your mind. Are you going to marry our daughter or not?" Because the people start laughing about the situation. I read a book about Ludwig's letters the other day, authentic letters, which he has written to various people. And the one which was a reply was a very strange one. He said, "My dear Sophie, the reason," he called her Elsa, you know, from Lohengrin, from Wagner's opera. He said, "The reason why I postponed the wedding was I had to think it over, and I thought it over 100 times, and I came to the conclusion that I think my love will not last a lifetime." That was it. "I want you to be my angel in spirit, my bride in spirit, my angel bride," something like this, he said. Well, the girl got over it. She was very happily married later on, but Ludwig never found another woman, a woman who would have fitted on his side, a woman who would have fitted into his world. And he lived a world of fantasy, a world of dreams, and he didn't care what was going on in the country. He was a great pacifist. So Bavaria was in a situation where they need a strong hand to rule the country, to make political decision against the Prussians, with the Austrians, or there was Ludwig who didn't care. And his life was a mystery, and so was his death, up to now, and I think never ever will history find out what really had happened to him. He was found dead, drowned, or killed, God knows what, or a normal death, in the shallow waters of the lake. And he's buried in a church which is, in case you walk through our shopping mall today, in the middle of the shopping mall on the right-hand side there's St. Michael's Church, And underneath the church, in the crypt, there he is buried, together with 60 other members of the family who were maybe so much more important than he was. But Ludwig's tomb is the only one which is always decorated with fresh flowers from the visitors, candles lit. You always see Munich people or Bavarian people standing in front of his tomb. So he's still alive in the hearts of every one of us, our fairy tale king. And that's why I have told you that we local guides of Munich always try to turn every visitor to our city into Ludwig fans.
Betty, this ruin here is the only thing that's left of World War II, the only ruin that's left in the city of Munich. And I think they're leaving it there sort of as a monument, you know, to the World War II. Now we're going to drive back toward Oberammergau, and we are going to stop and visit a beautiful monastery and church, which will, I think, be included on our trip next year. I certainly hope so. This is just right outside of Oberammergau, and it is an absolutely, absolutely beautiful, beautiful place.
On this site once stood a Gothic church, which was renovated starting in 1720. But then came a terrible fire in 1744, which left only the foundation walls standing. Barely 20 years later, this majestic domed building was erected, based on plans by the Munich court architect Enrico Zuccalli. It is called the Cathedral of Our Lady of Ettal, and was consecrated in 1762. The visitor's first impression on entering the building nearly takes his breath away. Above stretches the enormous cupola, the largest in any Bavarian church. The historic middle section is a dodecagon with a diameter of 25 meters. In natural harmony, this old Gothic structure is adorned with a Baroque style, on which the great masters of the day participated, among them Johann Jakob Zeiler, Josef Schmutzer, Johann Baptist Zimmermann, and Johann Baptist Straub. The legendary genuflection of this horse recalls the founding of the monastery by King Ludwig the Bavarian. He journeyed to Rome in 1327 and encountered hardships along the way. A monk promised to help if he would swear to build a monastery to honor God and the Blessed Virgin Mary. This the king swore, and he received the statue of the Blessed Virgin. On the way back to Germany, King Ludwig's horse is said to have indicated the spot for the monastery by going down on its knees at this spot. These pictures are over the entrance to the chamber containing the high altar. It is dedicated to the Blessed Virgin and contains the time-honored statue of Mary. The massive altar painting by Martin Knoller shows Mary's Assumption into heaven. She is carried up by angels on a cloud as the apostles stand in awe around her empty grave. The secularization of 1803, the monastery was taken out of service, but then returned to its ancient function before the end of the century. Since 1906, it has again been run by the Benedictines. Thus, the same order of monks, which in 1330 first began its work here, was able to return and continues to maintain both church and monastery today. respectful greeting is directed toward the shrine in the high altar, which dates from the Middle Ages. In the tabernacle corner is the venerable statue of the Blessed Virgin, made of white marble, a work of art from the Italian school, hallowed by many pilgrims.
That is beautiful, isn't it?
It really was. I'm not exactly sure whether that's on the agenda. We won't be going in like that. I don't think
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I know that we're going to see Castle Linderhof in just a moment, and that's on the itinerary.
Yes, I knew that.
Well, we're back now in Oberammergau, and oh my goodness, it is pretty. I do have to apologize for some of these pictures, though, because our editing equipment is not working when we had to put this together. So it's not quite as
if it's
as
a
good
little
as it should be.
disjointed, that's why.
That's right.
We were working against odds here today.
But this is beautiful. I did want to show again, if you had not seen any of these pictures before that we had, they're the beautiful paintings that we see all throughout the village of Oberammergau, and it is just absolutely beautiful.
Of where, Marv?
Oberammergau.
Oh, that's not what you said.
What did I say? What did I say?
Oberammergau.
Are you sure?
I am positive. We'll go back and edit.
Jiminy, your German's getting better all the time, isn't it?
My ears are picking up.
Oh, great. But what a beautiful place this is. And you are going to have so much fun when you go with us next May, and we'll be telling you in just a little bit. Oh, Betty, I want to show you. This was a shot out of my bedroom window where we stayed with Frau and Herr Uber and their guest house, which they had there, and the mountains around it was just so beautiful, weren't they?
These are all the guest houses, as you're seeing now, and these will be the places that you will be staying. And many of the people are in the play itself, and and it's delightful. Here's the.
This is breakfast in the morning, and this was wonderful. I thought the place was just so picturesque. It just looked like it was right out of a storybook, the way that it was decorated. And there is Herr Uber, and he's serving us some wonderful, wonderful coffee. I thought the coffee was excellent.
Well, you like strong coffee, but I like the rolls.
Well, you can always add milk to your coffee if you want to be a little continental. Right. There they are, Frau and Herr Uber, saying goodbye to us as we're just about ready to board the bus and head on into Austria. And surprise of surprises, it had snowed overnight. And so right outside the village, or almost within the village, is a ski area. And so as we look over toward the ski slopes, we can see that it has a fresh blanket of snow. But
it was beautiful.
It
wasn't
was,
it?
yes, yeah. We were very fortunate. We had sunshiny days, some drizzly days, and some days where, fortunately, in the evening it snowed. It didn't snow during the daytime, so it was
nothing
just
uncomfortable
beautiful.
At all. It was.
Right. And as you say, Betty, here are some of the guest houses there, and in the back is the theater there for the Passion Play, and there's some hotels also here on the main street. Very, very beautiful place. And one I think that all of us are going to enjoy when we go next May. Yes.
Just going to love it.
We're going to go now, and we're going to visit Castle Linderhof, which was one of Ludwig's famous castles, and one that he seemed to love very, very much. And this is just outside of the village. So let's hop on board and take...
Castle Linderhof was completed in 1879. While both of Ludwig's other famous castles were still under construction. Linderhof, with many details inspired by Versailles, was not just the only castle he lived to complete, it was also his favorite residence. After the failure of several of his building projects in Munich, he withdrew to the isolation of his mountain world to live out his dreams and fantasies. he considered himself the spiritual successor to the French Sun King, Louis XIV, whose lifestyle and love of life he tried to imitate here. But he didn't just want to recreate the past, but rather myths and fairy tales from his entranced present. The tour which follows seems so much like a fairy tale fantasy that music, rather than words, provides the best accompaniment.
Well, Betty, here is your storybook castle.
Oh, yes, I know it.
Isn't it gorgeous?
Yes, it is beautiful.
Oh, the artwork inside. Well, this is one that we will see on our tour.
Yeah,
so
kind of hurts your neck a little bit when you keep looking up all the time to see the ceilings. I love the beautiful ceilings.
yes, to see how they're painted.
How would you like to have to dust and clean all those places?
No, I wouldn't want the responsibility.
Now
that
I
stuff
know.
is too fragile.
I know now why they have all the rooms in the palaces. That's for the servants to go and keep
for the
these
dusters.
Yeah, the dusters, right. Now I know.
I'll take your word for it, okay. Oh, but this is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Ludwig lived in style, I must say that. Well, this has been a look back at some of the trips that we've taken over some of the years, some years ago, we should say. And so we don't want to confuse you by the dates and talking about the upcoming trips. But Betty does have information on some of our new upcoming trips, and if you would like to find out about those and get on our mailing list, all you have to do is give her a call at area code 209-488-7443. That just about wraps it up for this adventure, but we will see you next week back here. Bye-bye for now.